Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the podcast where today Toby and I will be discussing all things Liverpool, further fallout to their Mo Salah interview after Leeds United, what it means for Salah, Arne Slot, this Liverpool squad and Liverpool season going forward. Toby, as someone who's not a Liverpool fan, what have you made of Liverpool this season, this whole Salah situation, everything going around the club?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, as an Arsenal fan, it's pretty nice to have one less title rival, I suppose, this season. So we'll take that out of it at least. But as a football fan, it is a big shock. I don't think anybody expected after the summer transfer window that Liverpool had to build on their title-winning team and to sign such an amazing selection of players. And even the first 5 games of the season, but you won all 5. You won it in sort of last-minute exciting circumstances, and still seemed like you were playing well. Just since then, I don't think anybody really could have imagined this drop-off, the form that you're in, and also just the fallout to go alongside that, which just feels like it's throwing even more petrol on the fire that has sort of been Liverpool over the last few months, really. So, yeah, it's been a crazy turn, and it doesn't really seem to be getting better anytime soon.
No, and that's the thing. When everything is going as bad as possible on the pitch, you want to keep off the field stuff away from the media and the spotlight. And I think that Salah interview has now got everyone talking. We're still talking about it by the time this video goes out on Friday. And I think Liverpool just need to have games of football, win games of football, and then the noise will go away. But unfortunately, that's been Liverpool's problem all season. They just can't seem to get wins with or without Salah, and then when they do get wins, it's not always consistent. The performances on the pitch aren't always brilliant. So where do Liverpool go from here? And I guess if we have to start off with that Salah interview. And when you saw that Saturday night, what was your reaction? I mean, what were your initial thoughts on it? Did you think to yourself, oh my God, Salah's got to go? Or what do you think, like, what's he done? Just generally, what were your thoughts on it?
I wasn't really sure how to take it as first, because it's come at a bit of a funny time, obviously with the AFCON coming up as well, and I think initially I just didn't really understand what maybe the purpose was of Salah doing that. It feels like players are doing that to really maybe force moves to another club or to get a new contract or something like that. But yeah, this one was strange, and I think the timing of it is just been so bad, and it feels like without having maybe that purpose of trying to get something out of the interview. Personally, I don't really know what the motive is. It felt just like, why do it? Like, what is there to gain from it for Mo Salah at the moment? I don't think, if anything, it's actually going to be the opposite in terms of trying to force Slot to play him or to change things and try and accompany Salah. I think when a manager sees that, and a manager is the head figure of the club, they're just going to double down and stick with that, and they're not going to want to back down and show that weakness and show that sort of behaviour and response to what at the end of the day is the manager's decision is something that means you can get what you want out of it, because then you could have next maybe Isak doing the same thing if he's benched for a couple of games, and then he'll just be brought back in. So yeah, I was really confused by the motive behind it, and I'm sure somebody like yourself with Mo Salah, he has had a few of these interviews, I suppose, in the past few years, and they've come at slightly different times. Are you able to sort of help fill me in maybe why Salah has done this at this time?
Gee. I guess that's the thing, because no one is Mo Salah. No one knows exactly why he's done it, and we're all guessing, really. And I think that's the thing that I find quite annoying, because he could have said more, but given more context to it. But I guess with that more context, maybe he's betraying people's trust, and then he's putting his angle out there that best suits him. But the club haven't said anything, and Arne Slot and all the players who have come out and spoke have, like, try to calm it down and be like, yeah, it's okay, we'll deal with it internally. You guys don't need to know. So maybe he's not giving us the full picture, and maybe I think we have to be fair and say it's probably a biased view of what he thinks, because I think some of the things he said were just blatantly wrong and I don't think are accurate, but we'll get into the specifics of that in a bit. But like I said, about the motive, if it's to play football, he's absolutely gone about it the wrong way, and someone's very poorly advised him, or he's just got the absolute wrong end of the stick, because that's not how he's going to get back into the team. He needs to have a conversation with Arne Slot behind closed doors and go, what do I need to do to get myself back in this team, and let me know, and I'll try and do that. He clearly hasn't done that. If it was to try and maybe sack the manager, put pressure on the manager, to get himself back into the starting 11 and the team, I think this is the way that he probably should have done it, because I don't agree with what he's done, but I can see how doing this interview leads to that outcome of maybe if Slot is on the ropes and maybe he wants a manager gone and the club are already thinking about it and think maybe they'll go Mo Salah. But either way, I was thinking about this in terms of what Salah wants for himself and from Liverpool. He's played all his cards in terms of being as destructive as possible or trying to get what he wants. He's got no other cards to play now. He's given out the big explosive interview. Everyone's reacting to it. And anything else now is just going to be drip fed, and he can't really do too many more interviews because everyone's going to go, well, it's just a continuation from the initial shock. And no one's really sided with him. I think the people that have are maybe, and I don't want to guess, but maybe more like Mo Salah fans or Egypt fans who really want to see the player do well. Because I think if you're a Liverpool fan, then you're going, no player is bigger than the club, even though Salah has given Liverpool absolutely everything and been amazing for, I don't know, 8-9 years since he's come. But I don't think any player is bigger than the club, even though the manager isn't doing great right now and he's under pressure. I just don't think player power can win, especially not at Liverpool. Maybe at other clubs it could, but not in this situation. So if you want the manager gone or give him pressure, I think that's what he's tried to do. I don't think he's working, really, if I'm being honest. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think that point you ended on is sort of the line that I think a lot of people are saying, that no player is bigger than the club. And I maybe this is not what a lot of people would agree with, but I still think it extends to no player is bigger than the manager. At the end of the day, the manager is the leader of the club and the team. He is essentially Mo Salah's boss almost. That's how it should be viewed. Obviously, it's not directly in terms of football club. He's not whatever. Before we get into that, but Arne Slot gets to decide who plays on the team. He gets to decide how the team trains. And if Mo Salah doesn't like that, then it's kind of too bad, really, isn't it? It's and I think that can be lost, especially in something like football, where the players are generally the ones grabbing the headlines. The players are the ones playing football, and maybe it can be seen that they are at times more important than the manager, but at the end of the day, the manager is the one sort of running things. And like you said, I think if Mo Salah wants to get back playing for Liverpool, if that is his goal, I don't think anyone at the club is going to be reading that statement and thinking, oh, well, we need to sack Arne Slot so that Mo Salah's happier, especially when at the moment Mo Salah's not even playing particularly well, really, is he?
Yeah, and that's the thing of, if this was Mo Salah in the form he was in last season, not only is he not dropped, he's starting every game, he's playing every 90 minutes, and everyone is on Salah's side. But it's coming out after he's been on the bench for 3 games in a row, after he's not come on against Leeds United. But the thing is, he deserved to be on the bench, he deserved to not be playing games of football. And so what is his argument coming out? And maybe again, because AFCON is coming up, maybe the World Cup is coming up, and he's thinking, I've got to play, and I've got to try and make sure I play at the highest level. I need to put some pressure so people start playing me. I just think he's gone about it terribly if that was his end goal, which is why I don't think it's his end goal. And I think he has been a little bit manipulative. I think he has looked after his own interests. And I think that's fine to say, because I think he's a level of a player with that kind of mentality, that mentality's got him to where he is now, but it's not necessarily helping him now. It needs to be focused on making sure he can deliver the best he possibly can on that pitch, which he isn't able to do. And maybe he's not being given the opportunity to do either, and maybe that's his gripe. But he's just gone about it the wrong way. The first thing I saw was, why, Mo, why? Why have you done it? And it's just not helping you or anyone. And it has tainted his legacy a little bit. We'll have to see how it ends. But I can see a world in which he comes back into this Liverpool side, but he has to come from him, and he's got to apologise for it, because I think even Mo Salah, even if it's not at the level he was last season, I was going into this season thinking, if that last season was a one-off season and he's getting somewhere near 50 attacking returns in the season, then I thought to myself, between 25 and 30 in the league this season, I'm absolutely happy with that from him. And that's what he's averaged at the minimum for every season he's been at Liverpool. But he's just been even less of that, and maybe thinking, the first time in my career I've had a massive drop over a prolonged period of time, that not only am I not getting the goals and assists, but I'm actually performing badly as well. maybe that's why he's like, the club's been sticking by me. Why is it my fault? You know, when he talks about in an interview about blame Mo Salah, but don't blame Harry Kane. And I thought that whole comparison was very weird in general. But I can see where he's come from. Just wrong. Just wrong, wrong, wrong. And if he gets back to the ways, he'll be back in the side. That's no problem. So it's just very, very confusing, the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think those comparisons to other players in other situations are really interesting, especially somebody like Harry Kane is completely different. I don't think Harry Kane has ever maybe had a drop in form that's been comparable to Mo Salah's this season. And I think it's not that Mo Salah's been awful, he's been okay, but I think it's that drop and maybe how that's impacting other players. The one that I think is getting the most comparisons and I think is pretty relevant was Cristiano Ronaldo under Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. You had a player who probably had 15 absolutely of the best seasons that any player could ever want. If they have one of Ronaldo's seasons, they're completely fine. When he was at Juventus, he was banging goals in. Even that first season at United, he was playing pretty well and scoring goals. When he did face that drop in form, he got put on the bench and he didn't like it and he kicked up a fuss as well. And I think that when a player can be as good as Cristiano Ronaldo or Mo Salah are, when they start getting to the end of their careers and you do see that little drop off, and like Mo Salah even said in the interview himself, this is maybe the first time in my career I've been on the bench for 3 games. Well, you're not playing well and you are getting older. That is going to happen. I mean, you've got players at the prime of their career, somebody like Alexander Isak, who has been on the bench a pretty decent number of times this season because unfortunately he's not playing that well. But because maybe Isak hasn't had that consistent run of 10 or 15 years, he's not going to be kicking up a fuss as much as Salah has. And that drop and maybe that fall from grace that somebody like Salah is seeing and experiencing is that first time that he's ever really had that in career. Maybe despite when he was very young and knew that he has to sort of work himself up initially. And yeah, maybe just hasn't reacted very well to that change.
Yeah, but it's not just Isak. You've also got Ekitike, who's Liverpool spent a lot of money on, started the season on fire, found himself incredibly unlucky to come out of the side for Isak. Florian Wirtz, who's been on the bench as well, you know, at the time, a Liverpool record signing, and someone who's not only just playing in his position, but playing out on the left wing as well. Might not be what Liverpool promised him, but he's taken it like a champ. Robertson, completely different position on the pitch, but Milos Kukis came straight into the side. He started performing badly, but Robertson didn't complain, and now Liverpool fans are saying that Robertson should be the first choice left back. So there was definitely 3 games, like you said, 7 days. It's only been a week. It's not even been several weeks, several months. 1 week, and he's thrown his toys out the pram. And to talk about the Ronaldo interview, I think is a very fair comparison. I think Mo can just about get away with it because of the fact that Ronaldo did a sit-down interview, so just planned. Someone had to contact Piers Morgan, or Piers Morgan reached out to him. They had to agree. They went to a studio to do it. Because Salah's interview was after a game in the mix zone, you can maybe give him a slight benefit of the doubt that it wasn't premeditated. But with the things he said and with the clarity of thought that he said them with, even though I think he was very emotional and passionate, I think that was also premeditated. But I think to do it after a game rather than a sit-down interview gives him just a little bit more of a leeway than it did with Ronaldo. But yeah, completely similar situations. And I think it's not only Salah, because Ronaldo was actually performing for Manchester United, and it was the fact that the other 10 players on the pitch for Man United, they couldn't defend well enough to platform Ronaldo and let him do what he was doing in the attacking third. Salah is not only not performing, but the other 10 players at the moment aren't good enough to defend as a team and platform him. So it's a bit of both. And the thing is, Liverpool fans are criticising Salah and the rest of the team as well. It's not just Salah. And the fact that I think it's all him and everyone's going to come for him and everyone's saying he's the problem. He's the one that's been dropped. But like I said, Isak's been dropped, Ekitike has been dropped, Wirtz has been dropped. Konate would be dropped if Liverpool had another fit centre-back. Robertson's been dropped. I don't think he can have too many complaints. And again, it comes back to full circle. And then you go, but it's Mo Salah. Yes, he's elite. He's one of those type of players. But then you look at his evidence so far this season of his playing on the pitch and his performances, and he hasn't justified it. So I am leaning towards that he's just thrown his toys out the pram, and him being out of the side was justified. And now the scrutiny is justified as well. I still love the guy because of what he's done for Liverpool, but I just don't see... I'm going around in circles. I don't think he has an argument.
Yeah, and I think there's a real sort of lack of that self-reflection of the season that Liverpool and Mo Salah are having. It's not like it's like you said, it's not like he's playing well and everybody else is playing really badly, or if it was the other way around, where it was maybe Liverpool are playing pretty well, but then Salah had been dropped, it would feel strange as well. But yeah, it's not just him, and he seems to have taken it so personally, and maybe that comes across as, or maybe why he is so well upset and has come out with this interview is because of that passion that maybe he has for Liverpool, and the exceptional career that he has had there, and that to maybe see that coming to an end is contributing as well to his reaction to being dropped. And he probably wants to play and really help Liverpool and wants Liverpool to win, and that is something that can be addressed in such a more productive way than it has been. And I wouldn't be surprised maybe if Liverpool's form starts to upturn, he'll try and get his way back in the squad, and this will sort of be like a bit of a bad footnote in what was Salah's career, and maybe not an apology per se, but once things have maybe settled down, Liverpool's form has returned, he will probably regret this, I think, because I don't really think there's going to be any positive outcome from it for him.
Yeah, I don't see any positives from this at all. It gets us all talking. Maybe that's what he wants. But yeah, I agree. I don't see any positives at all from this. And I'm starting to think now, especially with the timing of it, with AFCON and the Brighton game on the weekend. After that, he'll then be travelling on the Monday to Egypt to play for Egypt for them in the African Cup of Nations. I don't see. Maybe he wants to move in January. Maybe that's what it is, and maybe that's why he's gone about this now, because he's not going to be at Liverpool to help resolve the situation. And if they don't resolve it before he goes, they're just going to fester and get worse and worse and worse. And if Liverpool, like I said, do start winning games of football while he's away, then Liverpool will go, well, we don't need him. We've clearly got very good players elsewhere. And the Salah of this season, we don't need him because he's not performing and he's not good enough and he's not going to work enough and work track back for us. So, sorry, but you're going to have to leave. And maybe they've been eyeing up a bid from Saudi Arabia. That's the rumour that everyone's saying. I haven't seen rumours from any other club, not in Europe though. And I also don't think, apart from maybe in Turkey, who could afford his wages if he's not going to track back and work really, really hard. So I think this unfortunately might be the end of Salah. But what do you think? I mean, I'll ask you the question. Do you think his legs have gone? Has his best years been behind him now? And is this what Salah's going to look like in the future?
I don't. I think that's crazy for anyone really to think that. I mean, you literally look how many months ago was it? Like 5 months ago, and he was having possibly one of the best individual seasons in the Premier League ever. There's no way that can be that quick of a drop off, and there's still an amazing player there. Yeah, his legs are going to go slowly as he gets older. Are they gone? Definitely not. It must be something. It must be something mental. It must be something. Maybe the whole way that Liverpool are playing and playing poorly is affecting him. Maybe he feels after that incredible season that they had last season, that motivation isn't quite there again. Maybe new players he's not gelling with. He feels like these new players coming in are to replace him. But he could have easily had a similar season this season than he did last season. It's just not. It's not probable for a player's quality to drop off that quick. Would another big team come in and maybe place that risk on that form coming back? Probably not. And this reaction, I think, is probably doubling down on that for a lot of clubs, that they don't really want to take in somebody who can throw their toys out the pram like Mo Salah has. And with his age, they're not going to offer anything more than a 2-year deal at best. So something like the Saudi Pro League is probably the most likely outcome. But that still doesn't mean that there's not an amazing player there who could have had another amazing season, and Liverpool could have won the title again this season. And I think if you had all of their players playing at their best, they would have done that. They probably should have. They probably could have won the league on paper. It's 100% doable, and Salah would have been a big part of that. But yeah, there must be some other factors in there that is contributing to his drop in performance as well.
Yeah, I think especially since we've praised all of his mentality and how elite it is, that seeing the competition of an Isak Ekitike and Wirtz, he would have seen that surely and gone, "Oh, you're trying to replace me and trying to move the team away. Well, I'm going to show you that I'm still as valuable, and I'm going to do it with my performances on the pitch." But he hasn't done that. So I do think the link up play though with the players around him though is very valid. I think the fact that he hasn't had Trent Alexander-Arnold put those balls in behind him, I think weirdly, because Liverpool fans I think at the time were happy Trent was going because of the situation around it, but also because you thought to yourself, okay, we can get it right back now who can defend, and we have that in Conor Bradley, but obviously with his injury issues, we haven't seen him consistently on a weekly basis. But then also, you don't have Trent's incredible balls from open play, and when I was looking back at the Man City game from this season where Liverpool lost 3-0 and the Man City game away from home last season when they won 2-0, the lead up to the second Liverpool goal which Dominic Szoboszlai scores, it all starts with Man City and Jeremy Doku pressing Trent Alexander-Arnold in the high press. Salah is, cheating and then playing really high up and he's on the last line. But then because it's Trent, he's able to play the ball in behind immediately. Then Salah gets the ball to Szoboszlai and then, they end up scoring the goal. How many more goals and assists and link-up play would Salah have in situations like that? Would Trent have still been on the side? We'll never know. I also think that Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez were... Luis Diaz, Liverpool should not have sold him. Obviously, Liverpool should not have sold him. In hindsight, it's obviously 2020, but that was a really bad one, I think. And I think the recruitment team got it wrong on that one because I think the rumours are that Slot wanted to keep Diaz, but the club was like, he's only got 2 years on his contract. He's earning like only £50,000 a week. We're getting this incredible offer, more than we paid for him buying. We're going to accept that. Darwin Núñez, obviously not perfect, but had a really good relationship with Salah on the pitch, was really good at linking up play. Salah always look for Núñez, Núñez always look for Salah, and then obviously Diogo Jota. Unfortunately, no one can plan for that, and that was unfortunate here. His passing and his brother Andre, but you can't do anything about that. And he's lost 3 players that he's really good at linking up with. Plus, in Szoboszlai's played the majority of the season at right back as well, so he's just lost everyone around him on that right hand side, and so I can understand why that's maybe led to it, but to build new relationships with the other players alongside him, I'm not sure, obviously I'm not an elite sportsman. I don't know how long that takes, but it feels like it should be better than it is right now because at the moment it feels like it's non-existent.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of change to the Liverpool side sort of just throughout the season anyway. Like you said, Ekitike starting as that striker, then Isak sort of coming in, Ekitike moving out to the left. The only sort of consistent mainstay in the side, it seems, is Cody Gakpo because he's having a fairly decent season. And everybody around him is just being in and out of the side, and defence is changing. You now got Joe Gomez at right back. It seemed like it was going to be Frimpong at the start of the season, but that just hasn't happened. And yeah, maybe that lack of consistency has contributed to Salah's drop in form. But again, a player of his quality should still be able to perform despite the players around him. They should still be better than he has been. And Salah has still performed throughout his time at Liverpool, where there has been changes a lot of the time. I mean, you look when Slot came in, the system was very different to what Klopp was playing in. You still had players coming in. I know there weren't many signings, but you had like Gravenberch stepping in, you had Szoboszlai going into the 10, and you had a complete system change, and Salah was still able to perform exceptionally. So it's a reason, and it makes sense, but I don't think it's something that Salah himself could particularly use as an excuse. And especially with this interview, it almost gives now the impression that for the whole season he hasn't actually really been trying as hard as he could. That's what the vibe that it gives off to me, which is really disappointing for somebody like you said who does have a really good hard-working mindset, and imagining that sort of dropping is pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I do think he has been trying, but I just think that maybe it's just everything's going wrong all at once, because Liverpool were at times fortunate last season, because when they picked up injuries, they always had another player returning from injury at the exact time that one of the players in the team got injured. And one example of that was Konate got injured, then Joe Gomez went in, and then when Joe Gomez inevitably got injured, Konate was then back fit, and that worked out quite well. But then this season, we've had periods where Conor Bradley and Jeremy Frimpong have been both out injured. Leone, the backup centre back, got with his ACL. Joe Gomez is never fit. and then you've had players in midfield like Wirtz has picked up a knock, and then Isak has picked up a knock, and then Ekitike has picked up a knock, and now Gakpo's got it, and Chiesa's got it. So it's all been the same positions at the same time, and just the whole team cohesion has just been off this season. And so I can understand why Salah, like the team isn't performing great, but that doesn't excuse the individual from not doing their best in every moment, because the amount of times that Salah's had a shot, and yes, he's had less shots and he's getting less touches in the forward areas than last season, but the amount of times he does have a shot, but it's going into row Z, and it's not like he's got a man on him, it's not like he's under pressure, he's maneuvered himself into that space, he's worked it really well, and then the shot goes high and wide, not even just high, not even just wide, both high and wide. And it seems to be every time I'm like, you can't even hit it on target right now. So if he's not even getting his shots on target, how can he complain about not being in the starting 11 as someone whose job it is to get goals and assists? And that's why we allow him to not have to defend as much, because he's going to be clinical in that forward areas. I'm tripping on my own words. I need to calm down. So that's why. So maybe we'll move the conversation on slightly to Arne Slot. And was Slot right to drop him? My opinion is yes. What are yours?
Yeah, I mean, if a player's not playing well and is contributing to your team not playing well, change it up. You've got enough quality options going forward for Liverpool to be able to do that. And I think if Salah was still playing and not performing, Slot would still be getting stick as well. That why is he not trying to change things? Why is he not, for example, taking Salah off at half time or something if he's not playing well, or changing things up? So Slot has done the right thing, I think, and I don't really think there's much wiggle room for that. I don't think you can really say, because Salah's such a legend and because of the season he had last year, he should still be playing. You've got to do what's best for the team to try and get them winning, and keeping it as it was, it just isn't sustainable. Going forward, it would be interesting to see what the sort of consistent starting 11 is for Liverpool really without Salah, because it even feels weird just imagining him not being there now. I don't know how that Liverpool front line is going to look, and maybe what that best Liverpool front line actually is at the moment.
And this is why I say, like, I think it's a mixing part of reasons why this Liverpool team is in the position they are now, because I think the recruitment, while Liverpool spent a lot of money and bought a lot of really good players, weirdly though, it's incomplete because it's not a balanced side. And I don't think, even though we all really liked it on paper when it was when the signings were happening in the summer, but I don't think you can have a situation where you have Isak up top, Wirtz in the 10, Salah on the right, and the left winger, let's say Gakpo or Ekitike on the left. That, from a defensive point of view, just does not work. And teams in the Premier League are just completely exploiting that. So what do you need to do? Well, I think you've already spent the big money on players like Isak and players like Wirtz. And Ekitike can probably play in the 10 for all I know, yeah. And he can play at left, but he'll probably be the backup option. I think you need a Gakpo style player on the right. Someone though who is less infuriating though, because despite the fact that I think he's maybe our second top scorer this season in the league behind Ekitike, he has been incredibly frustrating to watch, because he's either getting you a goal or an assist, or he's doing absolutely nothing. And just just play well and get the goals. That'd be really, really nice. But yeah, I think Liverpool do need a right-sided player in January. I mean, of course, I would love Antoine Semenyo, who's obviously got that release clause, but also I think Man United want him, Arsenal want him, Tottenham probably want him. Everyone would really, really like him at that price. I think he's undervalued, and I think the fact that he can play right and left, so if Salah were to leave in January, he could plug and play Semenyo on the right. He would then work hard with Gakpo on the left, and you can have Isak and Wirtz in the 9 and the 10. That works really, really well. But until then, what we've seen so far is Dominic Szoboszlai playing the right wing. And he's kind of on the right wing. He's not really. He's kind of more there when defending. But in possession, Joe Gomez and Conor Bradley, when they've been playing there, have been high and wide on the right-hand side, keeping the width. And then Szoboszlai is kind of tucked inside into the midfield a little bit more. And that kind of works because we've got Bradley and Frimpong, and I think they're both to those kind of positions really well. Gomez is more of a placeholder right now until both of them are both fit and firing, and we can rotate between them. Is that ideal? Of course, no, it's not. But I think Liverpool really need pace on that right-hand side. And I don't think we have anyone whose natural position is at right hand side apart from Chiesa, but he's also injured now and he doesn't have pace anymore after his numerous injuries that he's had throughout his career. So, not good is my answer to your question.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? And it feels like maybe like when you were speaking there and having the fullback provide a bit more of that width. Maybe somebody like Jeremy Frimpong could be a useful asset there if you've got Dominic Szoboszlai as your quote unquote right winger, sort of pushing into midfield and Frimpong providing that pace and width. But even then, that feels like maybe a solution to a missing Salah problem as opposed to something that the manager would want to do. And yeah, I mean, even if you still had, like you said, somebody like Luis Diaz playing on the left wing, you could play Gakpo on the right, and that's two hard-working wingers who I think when they are playing at their best could probably maybe combined get Salah's goal output that we expect from him, because they're both great strikers of the ball and they both can score goals. And that is, again, as I said to you, how does that Liverpool front line look? Where are these Liverpool goals really going to come from? Wirtz has struggled to score. Gakpo, like you said, has been one of Liverpool's best scorers, but it's been so inconsistent. Isak has really struggled in terms of goal scoring since he's been here. Obviously, hasn't played as much. But yeah, goals feels like the big one, not even just how they're playing. It feels like in a 0-0 against a low block, I don't know who's going to be the man to step up anymore and score those goals this season, and that's a really big worry.
Well, I don't know if you watched the Inter Milan game in the Champions League this midweek, but Liverpool went to a 4-4-2 diamond, which is something that a lot of people have been crying out for because you bought these high-flying fullbacks in Kyrgios and Frimpong, and you already had Conor Bradley and an aging Robertson, but someone who could still do the job. At least you'd hope for 60 minutes or maybe a cameo off the bench. And so you've got all these midfield players who are very talented, and it's a way of you can get Isak and Ekitike in the side together in the positions they both want to be. And he didn't play in that game. Well, he came on as a second half substitute and he made a real difference winning Liverpool the penalty. But you can see a situation where in that 4-4-2 diamond, Florian Wirtz is in that number 10 position behind both strikers. And as I'm saying it, I'm like, yeah, it could work. And Liverpool have the midfielders behind them of Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. I mean, McAllister and Szoboszlai, Jones as well. I mean, they can all work really hard off the ball and, cover the width, which the 4-4-2 diamond doesn't necessarily have. You need to be really careful of when you're defending. But the issue is that I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about it very similarly to how I did in the summer about, like, yeah, this works. Isak, Wirtz, Salah, Gakpo, happy days. But then that front press and pressing from the front, Ekitike, Isak and Wirtz, that doesn't fill me with loads of confidence that that's going to press well and effectively. I'm going to win the ball often and high up the pitch. Maybe that's something that I need to change because maybe that's not necessarily what Arne Slot wants. I think it's ideal for most modern teams now to want to win the ball high up and press on the front, but maybe it's a case of maybe that's not going to be Liverpool anymore. And if that isn't, I'm a bit skeptical about that because post Jurgen Klopp, I did think that pressing and being aggressive was going to be something that was going to be a Liverpool trait going forward, not just a trait of Jurgen Klopp's sides. And if Liverpool were to lose that, I almost do feel like I would be losing a little bit of my identity. Well, not my club's identity a little bit. And while I'm okay with that if you win games of football, I'm not sure I'm a lover of that as a fan who likes to watch the games and go to the games.
Yeah, and I think, like, even just imagining if that a lot of teams are sort of press and defend high in like a 4-4-2, and Isak and Ekitike, it's going to take them a while, I think, probably to get into that pressing structure if it's needed. But at the moment, yeah, like you said, that seems like quite an easy bypass for teams, especially with if Wirtz is a 10, is he pushed out a little bit wider? Is he sitting like on the opposing team's number 6? Not being an exceptional presser or defender, the number 6 for those top teams, I think, is going to have a fairly easy task in that sense. And yeah, do you try and fit the players that you have to the system that is generally considered better and considered a system for the top teams in terms of pressing and winning the ball high? Or do you then change the system maybe to suit the players that you have? Which, yeah, I don't know. There's positives and negatives of both, and is shoehorning Isak and Ekitike into a two-man system the best way? It is so difficult, and this is the questions that Slot will have to answer. And like you said, the fact that they played like a 4-4-2 diamond in the Champions League, and in a big Champions League game that is against Inter Milan, they've been one of the best sides in the competition this season, as they were last season as well. It's maybe an inkling of how this Liverpool side is going to set up sort of post Salah, I suppose.
Yeah, especially against Milan, who play with wing backs, and so I was really worried going into it that when I saw the lineup that if Liverpool don't defend the width well, that they could really exploit us and we could be in a lot of trouble. They ended up defending really well. They got the win, dodgy penalty or not, but I think it's probably good karma because they probably had one which should have been a goal earlier on, which got ruled out by VAR. So probably evened itself up. But I don't want Liverpool to sign any more star players. I want to use the ones that we already have, because I think that Liverpool have already bought some really good ones already in Isak and Wirtz. And the thing with Isak is Liverpool haven't necessarily been getting him enough touches of the football, and he's not obviously been linked as involved in the game as he naturally has to, as I want him to be, and he looked poor. But a striker I could compare him to, who also doesn't get many touches in the game, is Erling Haaland. But the reason why he's highly successful is that's his job, to not get involved, and his job is really to stretch the play. And then when he does get a chance, when he does get a touch of the ball, it's most often it's a final third action. So he's either shooting, he's passing to someone who's about to shoot, he's setting a play and a shot in some way. Whereas Isak's not doing that. He's dropping in deeper to get a touch of the football because the team are just incapable of getting it to him at the moment. So that's really frustrating. But then you got Ekitike, who's a bit more of a live wire, and then dropping in deep, dropping to the left, getting involved in link-up play. But then when he looks up, there's no one in the box, and that's where you want him to be. So it's just a bit disjointed at the moment. And I don't really mind how Liverpool are playing at the moment, as long as you get wins, because I think, if I'm right in saying, they're ninth in the Champions League table. Only the top 8 can go automatically through. If Liverpool have to go through and play 2 extra games in the knockouts before you get to the round of 16, that's fine, because PSG did that and they still ended up winning the competition last year. It's annoying inconvenience, but it's fine. The one for me is the Premier League. Liverpool have to try and make sure they're in the Champions League again next season. They're 3 points off 4th place at the moment, which is Crystal Palace. But every time they have a chance to catch up, they fail to take it, and that's my biggest worry right now.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's a disaster season for Liverpool, despite how a lot of your recent results have gone, how you're playing this season, how a lot of your players are performing. And I think it's more so that comparison to last season as opposed to how things are actually going this season. It's not like it was with United and Tottenham last season, where they were literally finishing in sort of 15th, 16th, 17th place. It won't be that bad for Liverpool, and the way that the league is shaping up, with a lot of teams dropping points, and a lot of those teams who were seen as just sort of mid-table, upper lower half of the league teams have sort of been stepping up this year and made a lot of teams in and around that Champions League place, that there is still time for Liverpool, I think, to claim that season back. And I think if you can, like you said, get to the round of 16 quarterfinal of the Champions League, get in top 4, maybe have a decent run in one of the cups as well, it's not a bad season, especially with everything that's gone on, how many new signings you have, and obviously how the season has gone up to now. I think there's still a lot of time for Liverpool's redemption, and maybe this will be sort of the make or break of Arne Slot. And as far as I've seen, it doesn't really feel like there's been a massive loss of confidence in Arne Slot that maybe you could expect from a run of games that there has been. So I'd be interested to see, do you still have confidence in Arne Slot to sort of go forward and redeem this season for Liverpool, or do you think a few more bad results and it could be an option to change things up?
I don't think there's really any redeeming that he can do this season unless he goes on to win the Champions League, which I think is possible, but I'm going to say unlikely right now. But I guess also PSG probably thought that this time last year, so who knows. Definitely not winning the FA Cup, because with the sides in English football right now, the way the football is, there's no way Liverpool are dominating any game, at least not right now. I think the league season, I mean, if you told me that it's going to be a car crash season for Liverpool, what's the minimum you want from the league? I said, just top four, just get the Champions League. It happens, you know. Jurgen Klopp had it a couple of times where you just get the Champions League football and you'll be fine. You can reset and go again next year. I think it's difficult with Arne Slot because it's not only been the defeats and the worst run Liverpool have had since the 1950s, it is just the fact that we've been dominated and often dominated at home as well. Man City away, you can lose to Man City away, that's fine. But it's Nottingham Forest at home when it's 3-0. And at 3-0, the camera pans to Callum Hudson-Odoi on the bench, who's laughing because he's like, I can't believe it. I'm fine not coming on because this is great. I'm just enjoying it from the sidelines. Feet up, happy days. It's PSV at home where the narrative has become, okay, Liverpool aren't great in the Premier League, but we can do stuff in the Champions League because teams are less physical. They're not putting in lots of set pieces and long throws, not trying to dominate us early. And then they just play you off the park instead at home. And this run, prior to, I mean, yeah, technically Liverpool have gone unbeaten in the last three, West Ham, Sunderland and Leeds, but it's not been convincing. And prior to it, people were saying, you know, if he loses, I was saying, I'll say this on camera. I was saying Arne Slot could lose the West Ham game because I think that's away from home. West Ham, I thought, who were going to be a better opposition than they were, and they were poor on the day. But if he loses the one at home against Sunderland and he loses it badly, I thought that people would show their discontent, firstly with their feet by leaving early, and then secondly with boos at full time. Whether you agree booing is right or wrong, I think people would have, and Liverpool fans would have shown their discontent. So he loses to Brighton, he loses to Spurs in the next two games. I think he could still be gone. It's very much a knife's edge, and not just Arne Slot. I think Ruben Amorim's been dealing with it this season. I think Thomas Frank at Tottenham's been dealing with this season. I think clubs and the hierarchy have a higher tolerance for patience than fans do, and thank goodness they do. I'm not Slot in, I'm not Slot out. I'm happy for you to stay, just win games of football. That's all I want, really. So I think the manager's position isn't certain. I think in this whole Salah conundrum, back the manager of the player 100% all the time. But it's not Salah or Slot. It could be both. And yeah, that's still a possibility. Jesus.
Yeah, it'd be so annoying, I think, if Slot goes anytime soon, because I feel like it would just make Salah so smug that he's feeling like he's done the right thing and he's got him out. Even if Salah himself goes, I really hope in that sense that Slot doesn't go, because I think that's such a bad example, and I think it would be really frustrating for that to be sort of positively reinforced, and it to potentially be a contributing factor, or people see it as a contributing factor, and why he's gone is that he didn't handle the Salah situation, and it's like he was just thrown into that situation by Salah, so that would be very frustrating. And then on the other hand, you've got, if Slot hadn't have won the Premier League last season, would there be as much time given to him as there has been? I mean, if Liverpool finished third or fourth last year, that probably would have still been seen as an okay season for Slot in his first season, and that transition from Jurgen Klopp. If it was still carrying on in this sense, and it was even question marks over top four, I think he probably would have been gone. It is going to be that busy Christmas period, that cliche. The games are going to come thick and fast. If a run of poor fixtures comes, it becomes so much more noticeable when they're closer together. If he can get through this without, I don't even know how many points he needs or how many losses. I think if there's 2 losses in a row, even in the next sort of 4 games, I think that's enough to have question marks, because that could be the team in third or fourth being 6 points. They can get 6 points in that game, and then you're looking at almost a 10-point gap between Liverpool and the top 4. And that is maybe when the club goes, this is worrying, we need Champions League football next season. We might have to take the risk to change manager to try and get that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's Brighton at home next, which I think if Liverpool lose with the holding that's been going on this week, and considering it's in the league, which is arguably more important right now because Liverpool are trailing, then I think Brighton are always difficult for Liverpool to play. We only just beat them at home last season 2-1, thanks to a Mo Salah goal, and we lost to them away from home. But that was after Liverpool had already won the league, so that's maybe a pinch of salt. But they always I think they've won a couple of times. I can remember a couple of Lewis Dunk headers. I can remember one where I think Alisson got sent off because he came charging out. So probably not difficult for Liverpool. But then Tottenham away. There's a game against Wolves somewhere in there, and if he loses to Wolves, considering how bad Wolves have been this season,
yeah, that a Wolves loss that could be that sounds like a nail in the coffin.
Yeah. If he loses to Wolves, there was a moment, obviously, watching Man United Leeds, and then when that was 1-1, I was like, oh God, if Wolves win here, then that could be the nail in Amram's coffin. So that could be the one in Slot's coffin. And then I think Liverpool playing Leeds again right at the beginning of January, and then you go away to the Emirates and Arsenal, and then seeing the team who could potentially win the league, and if they beat you, the ones who are the current champions, he's just got to win every game. He's got to if he's thinking about it and just going every game, he needs to just try his best to win that, and that's ultimately why he dropped Mohamed Salah at the beginning of all of this. He thought to himself he just needs to win games of football. He doesn't think Salah's going to help him do that, so that's why he dropped him. And yeah, the lack of looking inside and blaming outside is what's led to the situation. But Liverpool were already a mess prior to that anyway, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. Because, like you said, I think there's two things, not just one. If Slot hadn't won the league, and then obviously if Diogo Jota hadn't tragically passed away this summer, that one's harder because you don't know the emotional impact it's having. I am 100% certain it is having a emotional impact on both the players and the manager, but I can't quantify it because I'm not one of the players or the manager, and I'm not in that changing room, and I can't tell you. But the other one is the league. If that Jota situation hadn't happened and Slot hadn't won the league, I really don't know. I don't know, because maybe he set the bar so high, and he gave Liverpool fans the fact that they could celebrate a league title with fans, because the last time they did was in COVID. So I really don't know, but also don't know who else. It's just a mess. You just want Liverpool to win games of football and then they'll be fine. But it's messy and tricky, and how Liverpool are going to navigate is going to be so interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point on obviously the passing of Diogo Jota and the impact of that on people as individuals can't really go understated. And when all of those players would obviously be so close to Jota, such good friends with him, and that association of that friendship with the football and the football club, that when things are going as badly as they have, and when it feels like Liverpool are in a bit of a crisis, that impact and that mental impact, that emotional impact, that doesn't go, and will probably never go for a lot of those players, is just it makes it tenfold. So yeah, that is a really big impact on Liverpool season that I think maybe hasn't been discussed as much as it should have done, and I think maybe because Liverpool's start to the season and how sort of exciting and those last minute winners it was, that it's maybe not seen as much of an impact on the team as it should be.
Yeah, like even me, when I go and play football on a Saturday, you pick up a shirt, and anytime I see the number 20, I think of Jota, and I think about it, and then I move on from it straight away. But I'm assuming those players just can't seem to move away from it because it's their friend. And to me, he was just a footballer, and who I loved very much. But to them, he was more than that, He was a human being. He was someone who's part of their life. They probably got to know him and his family. And the fact that it wasn't just him, it was his brother as well. And it's the fact that he was so young. So I think, you can't weigh in on how much that's having an impact, but you just got to keep that in mind and be respectful at all times. That being said, I don't think that when Ibrahima Konate is jumping for a header and he completely mistimes it, and that exact moment he's thinking about Diogo Jota, or when Salah is skying one into Rose, he's thinking of Jota in that exact moment. But it could be like the 2 or 3% you need at the elite level to take away from what you're concentrating on right then and there. But I think in terms of going forward, you can only really judge them on the football perspective. But they've been so bad that it should 2 or 3%, because they lost Diogo Jota, it shouldn't lead to this much of an impact. But again, I'm just speculating. I don't know for certain. It could be, and if it is, then I'm sure in time it'll all come out. well, 3 to 4 years time when maybe Slot's not there, the players aren't there anymore, and they'll come out and say did have a massive impact on us. But I guess it's difficult to tell. But you life doesn't wait around for you, and you have to move on. And the fixtures are coming thick and fast. And if you don't move on, the manager will get sacked. And if you don't move on, then the players will have to move on and leave. And I think the collective don't want that, and I think they want to be successful together. They're just having a really tough time of it right now.
Yeah, I think in terms of, like you said, with the impact that that's had, I think it's almost impossible for the club or the players to use it as an excuse, because that, in a way, feels a little bit disrespectful and takes that takes that responsibility off them for how they're playing. I just think overall there has to be that is such a massive loss for the club and the players as individuals. And I'm sure things, like you said, on match day, they're still professionals. They're still focusing so much on that game that something like that probably isn't impacting them. But I mean, just day to day, just their mental health, the way they're seeing things, their training, the atmosphere, that team spirit is probably going to be lowered. And these things probably do seem like fairly minor things and things that still shouldn't make as much of a drop off as it has. But when it's little things like this, and it's all of the things to do with Diogo Jota, it's you've got unhappiness in the dressing room in terms of Mo Salah. These little things I think can really chip away and really affect a lot of players' performances. But like you've said, there's got to be that structure and that responsibility at that club to look at the players, to look at themselves as well, and to pick their performances up. And it doesn't. Even when you're winning, it doesn't still feel like, oh, okay, Liverpool are back anywhere near that just yet. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen next. I have no idea. I would not want to predict those next 4 games. And I would also be not surprised if you went to Tottenham away and produced a really good result and a really good performance, and then you had a 0-0 at Wolves or something ridiculous, because like that Leeds game when you were 2-0 up and then the game just goes absolutely mental and blows up. How on earth are you meant to predict any of that at the moment with Liverpool?
Well, that's the thing. That's where I have real sympathy for Arne Slot, because he can't do anything about that. He can't coach that. He can try and train Ibrahim Konate to try and be a bit more smarter in the situations. For the penalty against Leeds, don't go to ground, don't give the referee a decision to make. But he doesn't. But he's an experienced defender, a title-winning defender who's played in Champions League finals and plays for his national team in France. Will probably be going to the World Cup, probably be starting, and it's the silliest mistake that you'd expect at Sunday League level, but he makes it. And that just shows, like, what are you meant to do? And also the fact that, a lot been made about Liverpool being really bad at set pieces this season. I think we're -9 for set pieces in the league this season. So I don't think we've scored any, and we conceded 9, which is awful. But Arne Slot doesn't coach set pieces. He coaches the team, and we have a set piece coach called Aaron Briggs. So do you sack the set piece coach? What influence does Arne Slot have on the set pieces that Liverpool do train? What impact does Arne Slot have on the signings that were made in the summer and the recruitment strategy? Because if he does have input in the set pieces, that's on Slot. If he has some input in the recruitment, that's also on Slot. That weighs in on maybe Slot's making the wrong decisions right now. But if he doesn't have an influence on set pieces, and if he doesn't have an influence in recruitment, then you can give him that and give it a buy. But that's why it's difficult to pinpoint blame, because you don't know who's responsible for what. And that's modern football right now, because Arne Slot might just literally be the first team coach. And in that case, you kind of go, well, he's doing everything he can. He's changing things. He's changing personnel when he can and when they are fit and available. But it's just not working. What are you meant to do for mistakes? How are you going to iron that out?
Yeah, that's a good point. That it's good to see that Slot has been given that time and that freedom, I think, to sort of change things and at least attempt to upturn that Liverpool form. And maybe over the next month or so, if those changes aren't making a real impact, then you really do have to look at the sort of management that they were struggling to perform when they had a level of consistency in their in their tactics and their lineup and their setup. And they've also potentially, if things don't turn around, that they've had that inability to change that as well. And that is where I think there can be a real lack of faith in those who are running Liverpool at the moment. I'll just before we sort of wrap up and finish, I think a lot of Liverpool's results at the moment and the way that teams are going against Liverpool is because you are playing badly. That when you are on a bad run, there's not that fear with Liverpool at the moment. And I don't know how many results it will take for you to get that back and that to have a real impact on who you're playing. But have you noticed that in recent games, like games against Leeds, where Liverpool would be clear favourites generally, that teams are really going for it more against you, and that is just sort of doubling down on how you're performing?
I don't think it's more from a style of play they're going for it. I think it's more belief when they do attack, that they feel confident in throwing bodies forward and they feel confident that it could result to something. Because actually, the way to play against Liverpool is to sit back, defend deep. Liverpool have no way of breaking you down right now. And then when you do get forward, break fast, break quickly, literally the counter-attacking stuff, which Liverpool used to be really good at. And then when you get to pieces, put it in the box, and we get long throw-ins, put them in the box, and just dominate their pieces. And if you do that, and if you compete for your 50-50s, you probably win the game of football. And it's the really, really basic stuff which Liverpool are being really bad at right now. And that's why Arne Slot has turned to a more sturdy side, one that isn't maybe as flashy, maybe, you don't have Salah, maybe you don't have Isak, but he's gone to the side of last season, plus Ekitike up front, because he had no one else up front from last year. I think there is real belief, and I think it would take Liverpool to lose their underlying issues, which I don't think will happen this season. I think it would be a similar season to what Man City had last year, where they went on this terrible run, weren't able to win games of football, went on a historically bad run under their manager, and then they really only started to look like the real Man City again the following season, which for Man City is this season, which I think they have done on the back of their win against Real Madrid, which I was very, very impressed with. So yeah, I think next season.
Well, that's all you've got to wait until then. Just another 9 months or so, and then maybe Liverpool will be back. So yeah, a lot of fun to see until then with the rest of this season, I guess.
Yes, but I do want to I know we're running out of time, some final questions in, if that's all right, very quickly, quick fire. With Salah leaving for AFCON anyway, who plays the right wing for Liverpool between now and then?
I would have Gakpo or Ekitike. I would have them as the wingers. Which side, who it is, I'm not too sure. What about you?
I'm going to go with Chiesa when he's fit, because I just want to see him get a run of games, even though I know that's the option that Arne Slot is least likely going to take. Will Mo Salah be at Liverpool at the end of the season? I'm going to say he will survive till the summer and he'll leave then.
I think so too. I don't think he'll go in January unless there is a massive Saudi bid. Oh, maybe he could just go. I don't know. Oh, sorry, just a follow-up question on that. If you think he waits till the summer, do you think he will play very much between now and then? Will there be any sort of redemption?
He had a fantastic season under Slot last year. So if he can find some sort of form, then I think he could play, and I think it could be fine. But I think maybe Slot, the way he is, might be like, I'm done with Salah. Like, whether it be in January or the summer, I think Slot is done with Salah no matter what. So I think actually for Salah, he's probably better if he leaves. Yeah, okay, I didn't think of that. And last one, will Arne Slot be Liverpool manager at the start of next season? I'm going to say yes.
What? Oh, I don't know. That's such a difficult question. I think he will be. I think you'll be able to turn it around within the next 2 months, which I think will be enough. There will be a magnifying glass on him at the start of next season, I will say, though.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the media are getting a little bit ravenous and they need another manager head to roll and from one of the big boys. So, yeah, if he loses a couple games in a row, I do really worry for him. But if he wins, he'll be fine. See, it's as simple as that. Football is an incredibly simple sport. But that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. Let us know what you thought on everything to do with Liverpool, everything to do with Mo Salah and his explosive interview. Let us know your answers to those questions we asked you right at the end. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.